chair. Oh man, my daughter borrowed my chair. Gotta have my rolling stool. Oh, what's up, guys? So, let me collect my thoughts for a second. Oh yeah, we're making fins. So, on my stencil, first fin's already cut out pretty easy. No, I had some thin blue pine, so I cut my fins out with that. I just cut these out on the scroll saw. This is maybe 3/16 stick. Sometimes I actually use stir and paint paddles because they're thinner. They're already like an 1/8 inch, so about the perfect size. But that's okay. That's not too thick for me to work with. One thing I did on these bottom fins right here that come down. So this should have been straight when I drew this off. First of all, make me a little leg so I can recess that up in there and kind of angle that how I want it. And the other thing that I did was, this is actually straight, so I actually brought that out a little bit longer than the actual fin and gave that just a little bit of bevel right there. So kind of makes it look cool, I think. Artist interpretation, we'll call it. So it's fun to play around with these fish and kind of exaggerate some things on them. Like I said, if we're shooting for 100% realism, you wouldn't want to do that, but I'm not. So I like to kind of over exaggerate things just a little bit sometimes, just to give it that cool effect. So let's get started grinding these things down. All I'm gonna do on these fins is we're gonna take a sanding disc. And a little trick on these sanding discs, if you didn't know, if you buy these things, wherever you're getting them at, it doesn't matter. Come on, guy, help me out here. Here we go. I'm gonna cinch this up, make this easier. Now I've got the quick release on my sanding disc, a little quick connect. I don't have to deal with the little screwdriver and all, like some of them. This just pulls out and then that releases. But these things, not long after you use them one time, they kind of stretch a little bit and they're really hard. They're really hard to keep them on here after you use them a few times. Yeah, no, I'm gonna quit. So one of the little tricks is that you can take some, I use just masking tape and just put a little thin layer of tape around that, and that helps that tighten up so much more. So you can use these a lot longer, basically till the grit's almost completely gone. Actually, I use them until it starts burning my wood, no matter how slow, and then I know that I'm trying to be frugal, right? Gotta save money where you can. So anyway, a little tidbit on that. But all we're gonna do is take this, and then I'm just gonna basically about halfway around these fins. You can just take your pencil and mark a halfway mark if you want to. But about half of that thickness all the way around. Now, one thing to note is that, oh, one second, buddy. But one thing to note is that, see this bevel right here on this fin? How that's not straight but beveled. So these fish, where the fins attach on the side of the fish, it's gonna have that bevel here too. So that's how the fish come off. So not every fish that I've done has that. So I'll make sure that we cut a bevel here for this to lock into, if that makes sense. So let's get started. All right, so after you're done grinding these down, and basically, like I said, you just cut a 45 on these and then just start flaring them out, and that'll pretty much get you the shape you want with these fins. So once I've got these shaped, always hit everything down with some sandpaper because I feel like it's better to draw and stuff when it's nice and smooth, I guess. But draw my lines where I want these recesses to be, so that we have that little hard structure going to the fins. And I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna just take a round diamond, with these, can't talk, round diamond burr, and we're just gonna trace these out, and we're gonna try to leave where these barbs are. I'm gonna try to leave that there. But see how these kind of curved? Try not to do them exactly straight, but give them a little bit of a bevel. Gives it a little more character. And then when you flip this over, transfer those lines. All you do is make a little mark on top and bottom where these lines come across, and then just kind of connect the dots basically. So anyway, let's see if we can get this done. Hopefully they'll come out nice. All right, guys, so we got our fins made, and you see the difference here on these belly fins. Basically just kind of made the barbs, and then I went back and put some little notches in there with the cylinder bit, just to give it that little effect on bottom that those are flared. And then on the gill fins here, I just put as many little lines in there as I can, so there are a difference between the two. And I went back, that same cylinder bit, and made notches where these are going to line up. So that's going to sit, wait, R, wrong side. So I always put a little L or an R on these, man, you can see that. So I remember what side these go on, because I want these to fit as tight as possible, so I take my time making these grooves. But basically you just kind of cut that at an angle in there, set that down where it's going to sit, and that's a pretty good fit right there. How tight that fits. Loose, tight, loose, tight. Looks good. But if you make this too big, it's not that big a deal. You can always go back with some putty, or a lot of times I use super glue and fine dust, and fill that back in. And there's plenty of dust in here to find, so not the end of the world. And then on the bottom here, I made a couple grooves these belly fins are going to go, and I keep wanting to call this a little pancake bit. Now this is just a little round bit. It's about maybe a 1/16 thick, and that worked great for making, because it was so easy just to draw a straight line basically, but that made that little grooves in there. And that's where our belly fins are going to lay in there. Just like that. Keep getting off camera, but trust me, they're in there, and those will just super glue in there as well. So we are done with that portion. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm gonna go back with some 220 grit sandpaper and sand everything down, give it one last look over, one last hoorah, and then we'll be ready to start stamping this thing with some scales. All right, guys, here. Oh man, I got me a visitor in the shop. This is Piper. It's my girl, and she brought me a cute little flower. Can you say hey? Can you say hey to everybody? Everybody. Piper likes to come hang out in the shop with Dad sometimes and see what all she can get into. Especially she knows I got paints out here, so sometimes she comes out and paints. Can you tell everybody bye? See you later. Bye. Alright guys, so we got everything sanded down smooth and double checking. Everything's like I like it. So we're at the point now we're ready to start putting in some scales. I'm going to be wood burning these scales in. I have the Coldwood wood burner, and my nibs, I think is what they call these pieces. But these nibs that I have are basically just half circle nibs, and they start from let's see which one's an 1/8 inch. They go all the way up to 3/8, which I think is the largest I've been able to find. So I only have 4 different sizes. So one of the great things about Coldwood is that these just plug in. They come with this little extractor here, so you can pull them out while they're hot. But it pulls out. Just got 2 little prongs here, so I guess it's just a matter of preference. I honestly just took a chance on it, and so far I've loved this. The only thing is when I first bought it, I had to go in and adjust a little, because even on zero, on the 0 level, when you would turn it on, or 0 degree or whatever you want to call it, the amount of power I was giving it, it would get hot even on 0. It was like burning way too hot, and it's got an adjustment inside, so you just take the cover off, turn it down, just like a little click's all it takes. So you can kind of adjust it to burn how you want to. So one of the other great things about Coldwood I do like is that they don't make a lot of fish scale tips, and razor tip does. Razor tip makes, seems like thousands on there. When you go in there, you can get all different shapes and sizes and stuff. But one of the great things about this is that you can get an adapter, and you can plug a razor tip pin in here and use razor tip if you want to. So you do have that option. So, but as far as wood burning goes, this thing works great. That's what you're into. But anyway, like I said, we're gonna start burning some scales on here. And one thing to remember when you're doing scales, if you don't already know, is that there we go. Turn everything on. You don't want to burn too heavy. You don't want to leave a big giant black burnt spot that's gonna crust up on you. You want it just hot enough to burn to make that scale motion in there. Like I said, these are the little half moon scales. I always start with my smallest, like on the belly, kind of close to the fin, and then I go bigger sizes as I come out. But not a whole lot to it. This is probably one of the most time-taking parts of carving. I don't think I'm warm up. I think I'm there. There's nothing exciting about this. A lot of times when I do it, I just turn on the radio, listen to some music, whatever you got to do to entertain yourself. Because like I said, do a fish about this size, it's gonna take at least probably 4 hours. If I'm doing it, I don't know. There may be a faster way, I don't know. but you'll kind of get a, once you've done a few of these, you'll get a feel for how you want to do it. Kind of an art to this, I guess you could say. Line these up. It's hard to keep them perfect, mainly because the size of your fish is going to change. So you want to try to keep a straight line with these, but as you get to the edge of the edge of that fish starts to move in on you, so you may not be able to get a whole scale there. So it's kind of like, well, now what do I do? Well, you just kind of have to make it work. So you may have to move them a little further apart than you start, and then come in between. But main thing is that we're trying to just get the, I guess, interpretation that there's scales there. Another thing I like to do, so like there's parts of all the fishes, I say all, as far as I know, there's a lot of fish that have parts of the head that will not have scales on it. So I always just kind of draw a line from the edge of my plate where my gill plate stops. I always just kind of round that over and then look from the front and make sure it looks straight. So I have a line when I start putting my scales across the close to the head area, that I have it that way. I kind of end up with a straight line there on where to stop my scales, so I don't end up kind of dipping down on one side and not on the other. You want everything to look symmetrical when you're doing it. So I'm not going to bore you to death with the scale making, but you can see where I started out. This is kind of what we're going for. And like I said, we'll get bigger as we go, but nothing great and exciting about it. It's just time-stakingly. But like I said, just crank up a radio or some good music, or go sit outside and listen to the birds and nature, or, you know, go stand on your head and do it if that's what you like. What's up to you? So anyway, appreciate you guys following me this far, and soon we'll be ready to prime this fish and get it ready for paint. So thanks for sticking around.